live on my phone right there.
Okay, right on.
And we're live. So what it is, we give ourselves a few minutes to kind of build an audience, and we could just chat a little bit. Some people might chime in. They might be like commenting on what we're talking about,
right on.
and be like, hey, I got a question, and then it'd be like a little bit interactive, right?
I like it.
So,
it's nice setup.
We still got a couple minutes before we actually start officially, like a minute. See, we've got 6 viewers right now. Guys, say hello. This is my colleague, Patrick Gravel.
Bonjour. Pleasure all.
So we have audience internationally. We have people sometimes watching us from all over the world. Europe, Asia, America, the States.
That's
South
pretty
America,
impressive, actually.
Right?
Yeah.
But at this time, you never know who will be watching us, so we're kind of seeing. But they can tune in later on and they can watch our show if they like, right?
Right on.
Fantastic. So we're just about getting ready to start. It is 10:29. You guys, welcome to the Hardstyle TV Live. Please welcome Patrick Gravel.
Well, thank you, sir. It's
Thank
a pleasure to be here, actually. I'm happy.
Thank you so much for your time. Patrick is a specialist in, what would you say?
I would say I'm a naturopathic doctor,
Yep.
which has a specialization of diaphragm.
Yep.
I work on the diaphragm, the deep front line of the fascia,
Yep.
and also all the types of stretching, pretty much.
And also posturologist.
Posturologist, pretty much.
Fantastic. So guys, I wanted to tell you that I've been following Patrick for about 2 years now, right?
Wow.
We've been friends on Facebook. I started following you before we actually became friends. Your name, the Stretching Samurai, intrigued me because I do stretching and I follow some certain systems that we apply a lot of techniques. And you were in Montreal, so I said, oh, what does this guy have to offer? So I looked into what you were doing and looked into your YouTube channel, and to tell you the truth, you really impressed me.
Well, thanks.
Because
I appreciate that.
What this guy offers, he offers tips and techniques that are not really out there. Not that many therapists or trainers talk about or give away that information for free. This guy has a YouTube channel, follow it, called The Stretching the Samurai. And what he gives out is really, really high quality stuff that you can't really find anywhere else and that nobody will be giving away for free. So you usually be paying hundreds and hundreds of dollars to be getting this type of information that you offer, that you give away. So that, to me, that is high value.
Well, it's a little bit like, I see it as a way of giving back, because I've learned so much in the last few years. And I see a lot of people in pain, and sometimes they're just discouraged. So it's time to come back with a different approach. So how can you bring osteopathy, physiotherapy, kinesiology, and posturology all together? And if something doesn't work, what will work? And that's pretty much the hard stuff. So that's why I put this YouTube channel up. It's mostly to help people that a lot of people tell me, listen, Pat, I don't have insurance and I got to get this pain out, and I've tried 2 doctors, 2 osteos, what can I do? And I says, well, how about this? I'll come with a brand new solution and try it out and you tell me how it goes.
Amazing. So you have background in kinesiology, osteopathy, a little bit of that, posturology, naturopathy, is that how you say it?
Naturopathy.
Naturopathy. And whole bunch of stuff. You've been doing this stuff for quite a while, right?
Yeah, since 2003.
2003. And could you give me a little bit of background on like where you studied and how you came about to being the Stretching Samurai? Okay.
Well, the Stretching Samurai is actually a very interesting. I started learning from one of the greatest guy in stretching.
Okay.
He co-wrote the book with Jeff Farland, or I can't pronounce his name, but his name is Robert McAtee, and the guy is a genius. The guy is a master in biomechanics, and he taught me about facilitated stretching. And to be honest, it's kind of funny because I was at chapters, and this is funny because when you're a trainer, I used to be a hardcore bodybuilder. I learned from Ben Weider.
Yeah.
I started with Ben Weider in 1999.
Arnold.
And yeah, Arnold and all that stuff. And one day I decided, because they don't teach you a lot about stretching, I went to Chapters. I said, I'm going to take the first book on stretching and I'm going to learn it.
Yeah.
So I just go in the library, I just look at all static stretching, I say AIS, and I see facilitated stretching, and I pop that book out and I go, okay, that's the book. And I start reading it, and then I called up Bob McAtee in Colorado.
Amazing.
And I said, okay, I need to be a pro at this. So how much would it cost for me to come down for a weekend and name your price, and I want you to go from cover to cover, the whole book with me, and I need to know everything that's in this book in the weekend.
Wow.
And he says, are you serious?
It's not possible.
Yeah. He goes like,
crazy.
are you serious? I go like, yeah, I'm pretty serious.
Yeah.
And one day, he says, well, there's this weekend and there's that weekend, and all of a sudden, I knock on his door, and he go, oh, you're here. I go, of course I'm here. You know, when I say I do something, I do.
Sure, sure.
And I spent an entire weekend with him.
Yeah.
And I learned so much from him. He's my inspiration.
So he became your mentor.
Yeah, he's my mentor, and his name is The Stretch Man.
Yeah.
Well, guys, if you want a great book, Facilitated Stretching by Robert McAtee, thestretchman.com. And this was epiphany for me. I was like, I'm going to be the best at stretching.
Yeah.
At least I'm going to know one type of stretching very well, you know? And all of a sudden, we started interacting together, and he invited me after to be the assistant for 4 years at CanFit Pro. And
I got it. So amazing.
that's what I did, pretty much.
So you could say you're his protege, so to speak. Would you
I
say that?
s-
Is there anybody else that,
Well,
that
I'm
is
sure.
as dedicated as you?
I'm sure there's a lot of people that showed interest in his work. I'm not the only one, but I think that the fact that I traveled to go see him actually showed that I was
You really
interested.
want it.
I really wanted it, and since then I haven't looked back. It's
cool.
It's all that.
I'm the same way with kettlebells and with strong first, so I'm kind of like the parallel version of you, but with strong first and kettlebells.
Yeah,
cool.
that's what I love actually the most about you. I saw that you were working with Pavel Tsatsouline, and believe it or not, I'm such a big fan of Pavel Tsatsouline. I used to have the book, and as you were doing hypertrophy in a gym, there was this technique called the irradiation technique, where it's three T's of training, right? Tight, tight, and tighter. So you can recruit maximum
as much muscle as possible.
And that was so interesting to me, and I started doing bicep competitions using that technique. It was so fun.
Nobody else knows about it, right? It's like not something that trainers know. It's kind of like these ninja tricks that you don't find anywhere else. You don't find them in magazines. But Patrick here, he's the guy for stretching, for therapy, and you give these tips, kind of like Pavel, that you wouldn't be able to find in any magazine, or you'd have to do a lot of research to be able to dig that information out. So that's fantastic, and that's what I really appreciate about you and your dedication, your level of expertise, and the value that you give to others by offering this type of stuff for free.
Well, the most important thing is you got to keep an open mind. Okay? I see a lot of trainers coming into this, and they're going, I'm going to do this, and I'm not going to diverge from that. I like to learn a little bit about everything. A little bit like kettlebell training. I haven't done much kettlebell work, but what I can grasp from it, it's such an amazing training system. I look at your work, Luca, and I see you go, and it's interesting because...
This is about you, Patrick.
No, but I like to say, guys, if you haven't tried kettlebell training, it's actually pretty cool, because as a therapist and as a stretching professional, I can tell you one thing, okay? You get core training. You get a lot of flexibility. You get to stretch fascia by doing different positions like windmills. So you get a dynamic stability, open chain dynamic stability, which is the number one thing you need when you want to stabilize a shoulder. You need dynamic stability, and not a lot of people do it. People will use BOSUs, they'll do push-ups, but doing a reverse kettlebell upside down, now that's dynamic stability, and this is how you rehab a shoulder.
That's key.
Yeah, that's the key, right there.
Stuart McGill talks a lot about that, and that's why he loves kettlebell so much.
Oh yeah, like I don't see a downfall to kettlebell training at all. In fact, I believe everybody should implement at least a little bit of kettlebell training with their normal workout in the gym.
Fantastic, fantastic. So you talked about facilitated stretching, which is your main thing, because you know a lot, I would say, about all kinds of stretching, right?
I'm a student of all the types of stretching. Yeah. I believe there is benefits to static stretching.
Yes.
I believe there's benefits to facilitated stretching, which is passive or active.
Yep.
I believe also, yoga is stretching when you think about it.
Yes.
You know, you're stretching.
Isometric.
Yeah, you're stretching fascia, which is another thing.
Sure.
You know, so stretching is everywhere. It's just in different forms.
Absolutely.
And if you give yourself time to learn a little bit about it, you can mesh all that and keep yourself just like you in perfect shape, injury free, and that's pretty much the number one thing you should work out for.
Absolutely. So what is the difference between the facilitated stretching and say something like AIS or passive stretching? Is there something in particular that would say this differentiates one category from the next?
Okay, well, there's many types of stretching. There's facilitated stretching, which is active or passive, right? When we do facilitated stretching with Robert McAdee, it's an active facilitated stretching, okay? So basically, let's say you wanted to stretch your chest, right? What you need to do is check your range of motion first. That's the first thing you need to do, which I like to call resistance one. So you'll go to the maximum, basically, and that's pretty much your maximum, okay?
Your limit.
Your limit. Now you're going to press against, let's say, a solid object, creating a contraction for 6 seconds on that muscle. And then as you exhale, you have to use your rhomboid to pull the shoulder blade back. So you're not pushing for 6 seconds, releasing, and then and just moving forward.
Using your strength.
You're using the co-contracting muscles to pull it back.
Pull it back.
So that's called an active facilitated stretching.
I got it.
And we're using a resistance one.
Similar to PNF?
It is PNF.
It is
facilitated
PNF.
stretching is proprioceptive neuromuscular facilitation. Right? So it's just another way of, a lot easier way, I like to say it. To say it.
If you can spell it, then, if you can't spell it, then you give me 10 push-ups.
Yeah. So pretty much that's the first thing, right? AIS, what's interesting is you got to go to R1, and then you got to push like a little bit extra to get R2, and then come back, and then in a dynamic range of motion get a little higher. Now that could be a little bit more uncomfortable, still very effective.
I got it.
But we like to help people by telling you just respect your limits, go to R1, create that contraction.
Now, excuse me, so for those that don't know what R1 is, could you elaborate a little bit on that? And R2?
We call it R1 and R2 is resistance 1 and resistance 2. Basically, that's your end range of motion. But there's always a little bit more that you can get. Let's say you have somebody on your table, you're on my table. I could get you to push. I'll reach a first end limit range of motion. And then R2 would be, okay, I can get an extra 5 to 10 degrees. That's R2, but it's a little bit uncomfortable. We have to stay, when you do facilitated stretching just for health benefits, for relaxation, we stay at R1. We respect R1.
I got it.
R2 is
you
more.
You don't really need to go there, you're saying. R2.
Yeah, R2 is you have to be very careful because when you go to R2, you're pushing basically to the end limit.
So you have to have a lot of awareness. In terms of your body when you're it takes another level.
Yeah, another level, and you have to be neuromuscularly connected so you can avoid injury, because if you torque too far, you're going to rip a tendon.
Of course.
And this is what we're trying to avoid.
That could be problematic.
Yeah, pretty much. That's why I like facilitated stretching. It's straightforward. You get your first R1. You see basically your original range of motion. Create a contraction. You wait 6 seconds, and as you breathe in, as you exhale, you use the co-contracting muscle to pull back, and not somebody pushing for you. So
is
it teaches you a mind and muscle connection.
This is
That's all it
extremely interesting because we use the same principles with flexible steel.
Oh, really? Interesting.
But we obviously don't use the same, maybe the same exact terms that you do. So flexible steel was created by my teacher, John Engem. He's a grandmaster in Taekwondo. He's also a kettlebell master. And he took a lot from his experience in martial arts over the years, and he took some from Paolo Tsatsunen. And so there's, we use the 3 S's in terms of stretching. And also we could apply these 3 S's to kettlebells or body weight or barbell training. So S number 1 is use your strength when you're in a stretch. Okay, so right when you said, okay, you have to use your co-contraction, it's in my mind that you have to be active in the stretch. So using your strength.
That's
right?
pretty good. Yeah.
S number 2, you're trying to create space. So we use a lot of visuals in your mind.
Wow, that's interesting.
In your mind, you're trying to either, if you're trying to lengthen or stretch your back, you're actually using your mind to visualize lengthening the spine or creating space within the body itself.
Oh,
right?
Interesting. Yeah.
S number 3 is spreading the load. So if we do like a loaded stretch, or if we use a weight, or if we use a resisted stretch, we're trying to spread the load throughout the entire body, not just necessarily the part being stretched. Does that kind of make sense?
Well, yeah, actually, I feel I may need to learn an extra type of stretching now.
It's not complicated. We try to just break it down for the average person to make it kind of in layman's terms. Say this is simple, just do it, right?
Yeah, but I do like how you add that 3D spatial dimension visualization technique. That's actually very interesting. Actually, I don't. Normally, I see more stretching like a mind and body connection, where a person's got a connection, contract, and relax, and then recontract using only your mind. You know, which could be very hard for some. There's not many postures. I started in 2002, and then this is a funny thing. I don't know if you know a little bit about biotonics.
I don't.
Okay, biotonics was made by Sylvain Guimont, and also another person, which I will not mention his name because for personal identity. But I can tell you that it was created for energy cardio people to fix deviations and stuff like that, right? And he was a guy taking care of Mario Lemieux's back.
Cool.
So when you started at energy cardio around 2002, 2003, when you wanted to learn about posture, they send you to him directly. So it used to be very expensive. And he was also working with the Canadians in Montreal.
Cool.
So I've learned from this guy. And to be honest, I didn't want to learn posturology. I started in 2002. I'm a mechanical engineering major.
Okay. Now he's a body engineer.
I didn't want to...
Mechanical body engineer.
Yeah, pretty much I switched to that. I didn't want to be a posturologist. I wanted to be a trainer. That was my lifetime goal. I wanted to train people, make a difference and stuff, and there was no job openings. And all they said, we have biotonic specialists. And I said, what is that? They said, posture. I go, whatever, I need a job. So I just got into that.
Now, is this before you learned from
Way
Roberts?
Way before.
Way before. So you became a posturologist before.
Oh yeah, yeah. Like stretching. Like you can see the time frame a little bit between. The time frame is 2003 was basically posturology beginning. 2010 was when I started really getting into facilitated stretching. So we have a 7-year gap where basically my stretching knowledge was almost nil.
Zero.
Yeah.
Now, posturologists, there's this debate going on in the interwebs that stretching could be a waste of time. And a lot of posturologists debate that. They say, okay, passive stretching or stretching in general, you shouldn't do it. Now, can you, do you have an opinion on that? Is there some facts to that? Why do they say that?
Okay, well guys, what you need to understand first is that I like to call it the Neo syndrome, like a little bit like the Matrix.
Yep.
Okay? When we look at posturology as a whole, we always say that joint limitation are sensory based. Okay? What are sensors in our body? Okay? We got the visual, we got the jaw, we got retracted scars, we got a shorter limb, we got a deficient diaphragm. These are all sensors. And oftentimes, when the sensors go out of the whack, this is where joints get basically stuck.
Sure.
So basically, if you don't work on those sensors prior to stretching,
yeah,
you're just gunning for trouble.
Mm-hmm.
But then again, that's an interesting fact, because I'll be honest with you guys, I've tried everything. Okay? I've done the heel, I've done the mouthpiece, the jaws, the
magnets.
I've done everything.
The eye and stuff like that.
And by the way,
and that works, right?
Yeah, it works. But here's what happened to me, and this is a true fact. 8 months ago, I said I'm going to do a test. I'm not going to stretch.
Yeah.
No more stretching.
No more stretching.
No more yoga. No more fascia stretching.
Yeah.
I'm going to use only sensor-based calibration, and I'm going to train.
Okay.
What's the worst that can happen? Guess what, guys? Hamstring pull, level 3. I was paralyzed. Hamstring
pull.
I pulled. I literally pulled my hamstring doing a deadlift. I had the right heel, the right correction for my eyes. I had a jaw piece to calibrate my jaw because I have a contralateral rotation. Everything was beautiful.
Yep.
All I had to do was train.
Yeah.
And I pulled my hamstring. I was paralyzed for hours.
So interesting.
And this is where you realize, guys, you have to look at health as a whole.
Yep.
Stretching is important. Mobilizing your rib cage is important. Stretching your fascia is important. Moving is important.
Because stretching is moving, guys.
Everything.
You're moving in different ranges of motion.
Yeah,
you don't get to go there.
And only when you're on the ground, Luca, and you're staring at the ceiling and your leg is not working. Literally your back is swelled up with inflammation, and you go, where did I go wrong? I did everything right.
Yeah.
And I'll be honest with you
so
guys.
You thought.
I thought I did anything, but it was a test, right?
Yeah.
Stupid bone has test.
Well, you
and
know,
I
think it's important to do these things to have validation within your own practice, right?
Yeah. A year later, I'm still rehabbing. Great, but nevertheless, yeah, I'm still rehabbing that hamstring injury, and it's kind of funny. But nevertheless, you learn from those mistakes.
So you're saying both are important. I mean, both work, but they kind of mesh.
They work as a
synergy, right?
Yeah. Well, remember when you had an interview with that very interesting guy,
John Sutherland?
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
I studied with basically Thomas Myers from anatomy train. Carrie Gaynor was my teacher, which was basically after Thomas Myers, there's Carrie Gaynor. And she taught me about tensegrity, which he taught you about tensegrity. Basically, the body is a whole, and basically you got fascia line.
It's a matrix.
Yeah, and if one part in that sequence of fascia
it
goes
affects
wrong,
the entire chain.
Everything fucks up.
Yeah.
Like and this, you're on the ground paralyzed. Trust me, you learn this very quick.
Sure.
So basically, there's a tensegrity to the body. Okay. So I like to tell people, this is my philosophy. I want to work in to work out, right? So this is what I like to say.
I like that. That's cool.
I love to work in. So what do we need to work in?
That is such a great quote.
Yeah.
That is really brilliant.
So actually Paul Chek said it. You work in to work out.
Yeah.
Now I like to go mobilize my spine, T-spine maneuvers. Rib cage mobilization, then fascia stretching, diaphragm work, bringing back in the diaphragm, visualization, like eyes, looking, jaw, shorter legs, and then muscles, tendon, and ligaments.
Yep.
and I work from intrinsic to extrinsic. That's what we're trying to do.
Fantastic.
So when you come here to see me, my main goal is I'm going to show you every approach and how you can apply it. You're going to apply this on your off days.
Yeah.
This you're going to apply to your training.
Yeah. So is this something you do every time you train before you kind of self-assess and you go through this process?
Yes, I do.
It's like your warm-up or warm-in, if you want to call it?
My warm-up can take 45 minutes sometimes.
Kidding. You're not kidding.
It's 45 minutes of diaphragm work, of ribcage mobilization with a stick to expand, noticing if I got good internal, external, good mobility with my vision, and it can take up to 45 minutes, and it's really exhausting.
But Patrick, what about people that don't have time for this? What about people that are on tight schedules? What about people that just want to train? What type of suggestion or do-it-yourself application can they use? Is there something that could be shortened, or there's no way around it? There's no shortcuts?
Okay.
Is it like you have to do this for optimal health?
Well, what I would suggest, okay, if you know you have a problem with posture, you need to know.
How do you know?
Well, basically, you can see a guy. They're not aware, you can come and see a guy like me. There's a lot of posturologists, and you got to check. You got to assess. You know, Paul Chek said it best when he says, "If you're not assessing, you're guessing."
Yeah, pretty much.
Okay, and it's a lot of people are guessing. Sadly. Okay, so you need to see somebody that knows basically at least. Well, you know, like I look at your work, right? You do that FMT?
FMS. Functional movements.
Okay, well, that's an assessment. You have a good idea of that assessment to know if he's got restrictions somewhere.
Absolutely.
And then you can apply.
Movement issues.
You need to assess. If you're not assessing,
you're guessing.
You're guessing. You're not going to get out.
If you're not measuring, you know, you don't know where you're going, right?
Yeah, because like, let's be honest, and I'm sure everybody out there looking right now, how many times did you ever heard somebody get injured in a gym? Like, everybody gets injured.
Everybody gets
Everybody.
It's like
even
a
me.
common thing, right?
Like, even with all my knowledge, posturology, I still pull my hamstring. Now, what was I doing wrong there? Maybe there was a fascia line that was out of place. Maybe I was too tired. You know?
Sure.
Like, maybe physiologically, my loading, my stress in my day, my workload, the family, the this.
It's hard. It's even hard to put a blame on saying I didn't do the right thing or I didn't do the right warm up. Maybe it was programming.
Yeah.
Who knows, right? It's hard to tell sometimes, but things go wrong, and then sometimes we have to look back. That's why we keep a journal and we assess and we look inwards, right?
Yeah. But one thing I would highly recommend, guys, make sure that your jaw's aligned. Make sure your visual is aligned. And if you've got a shorter leg, that's your very common basic thing.
Well,
make sure
has
those
a shorter leg,
right?
Right?
So you got to assess it, and then make sure that it's taken care of. Okay. Now once that is done, okay, this comes to the fun part. You got your mobilization, your warm up
then
between.
You can stretch.
You can
then
stretch. Because whatever's going to be tight from this point on is really tight. Okay.
And first time we spoke over the phone, I think we were on internet or something like that, and you showed me something extremely interesting that I found was just almost like, you know, the Matrix, that your eyes play a big part in how far you can stretch or how much you can reach.
Totally.
Could you elaborate a little bit on that? Because I found that very, 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 very interesting.
So when we look at posturology, it's actually very interesting, because once the diaphragm is in line and all the air is in the right compartment, your right diaphragm's working, your mobility is optimal, you've stretched a little bit, oftentimes visual aspect can be a big problem. Because how many people do you know got a concussion or fell on their head at least once? Basically, you've got a lazy eye, and that basically is going to screw you up. Basically, look at your body when you stand. You're going to be most likely ipsilateral rotated. You're going to see that right arm a lot lower. And that's all visual. Now, what I did to you is I said, can you please take your glasses, put them crooked,
Right now I'm not wearing them actually.
Yeah,
Contacts,
and then
so.
try to rotate your neck.
Okay.
And oftentimes, if you say that, you just you get your glasses crooked,
Yeah.
your neck will lock. Literally, your neck will lock. Don't be surprised. Okay?
So you're saying if you can't see, what if someone takes their glasses off and they see blurry?
Oh, we have a problem here.
We have a problem here.
We have a problem.
So if they're walking around without their glasses and they can't see very well.
Well, it depends, huh? Because let's put it in a context, right? We're not talking about farsight or myopia or anything like that, right? We're not talking about all these things.
Okay.
We're talking about conversions, the ability to converge images, okay? If you would do a simple pen, you take the pen and then you look from far, close, bringing your eyes in, out, and you work those, then you'd be fine, even without glasses.
Got it.
So basically, conversion problems, that's the problem. It's not really the glasses itself, but glasses oftentimes do correct certain eye conditions, right?
Yeah.
So if you're not going to put your glasses on, I would do eye exercises before you start.
Fantastic.
Just to level out.
Fantastic. And would you go as far as saying that it would also affect your strength?
Yes. It does affect your strength, and not only that, it affects basically how your body perceives a weight.
Yep.
You can't go like this in a training, start doing a deadlift, and actually feel that your pelvis is working optimally.
Yep.
Okay? Your jaw is going to be off.
Yep.
It's going to affect your jaw.
Yep.
And I can tell you guys, if you've got a jaw problem, you want to see how strong you are, take a few popsicle sticks, put it in the back molars, just bite on it, and try to do that weight again. You are going to be repping like crazy.
So bite into it, you're saying?
Oh, just not crush the popsicle sticks, but you take, let's say, coffee sticks, you put 3 or 4, if you've got, you see you got a little bit of malocclusion in the jaw, and you bite with the back teeth on it, you will see that your strength will increase by a few reps.
Very interesting.
Yeah.
Very, very interesting.
Because everything's connected. The jaw is connected to you when you sleep. Your jaw clenches when you sleep, realigns your spine. So if you have no teeth in the back, you're in trouble, bro. Your posture is all whack. Your knee's going to go out.
You got big problems.
Your hip's going to go out. Your shoulder's going to go out. And it's funny because my teacher once told me a guy came to see him for a shoulder problem, right? And he had trouble with his jaw. His jaw was totally out of whack. And the minute he put popsicle sticks and he made him bite in the back molars, his arm totally went out, no problem. So the guy actually drove back home with popsicle sticks in his mouth.
You recalibrated him.
Yeah, because he didn't want to feel pain while driving, right? So he just drove with popsicle sticks.
And had to spend the rest of the year with them in
but there is products like New Age Performance that make a really decent mouthpiece, and they realign your jaw.
So you would recommend someone to wear that during training, or is there like someone has to do it for a certain amount of time and then they can stop doing it, or is this something they have to do on a consistent basis?
Let's be. I'm going to be very, very honest with you guys, and this is a lot of people ask me that question. And the jaw itself, once it's out of its hinged, it's a 3D repositioning by a professional dentist. It's $5,000. Okay, the jaw, the mouthpiece is status quo. You want to keep status quo. That's all I'm saying. So basically, it's not going to get you better. It's going to allow you to train without injury. But the minute you take it off, you're still back to your normal self.
Things could go wrong.
Oh yeah, 100%. Because you have to fix the problem. And to be honest, that's only a plaster. That's a Band-Aid. The mouthpiece. It will not fix nothing. Unless you go see a professional dentist, he realigns your jaw, and that's a year. That's a year with rubber bands in your mouth and drinking through a straw. Maybe you're not going to go to that extent.
It's not something that everyone's going to think about. Hey, I'm going to go see the dentist and realize.
Oh yeah, I'm going to spend 5 Gs.
5 Gs.
Yeah, just so I can bench 2 plates for 20 reps. Like that would be funny. I'd love to see that. That'd be hilarious.
Let's do it.
Yeah, that'd be actually fun. But yeah, the jaw has a big significance.
Amazing.
In terms
really
of
amazing.
Yeah.
So is there any way that anyone could? Do you have any tips that you could mention right now that would be applicable to anyone that is doing any strength training or stretching that they want to get better or improve? Anything like right away, like do it yourself? Any advice that you can give our audience on what they can do for themselves on their own?
Well,
is it possible?
The thing is that knowledge is key, right? Right. When you come and see Luca for a seminar and a certification, you're there to learn. You want to learn a little bit more about the body.
Yeah.
My piece of advice to you guys today is get to learn your body. You have only one. Start learning. Yeah. Knowledge is power. Get on it. Find out why. Don't be so skeptical on what this guy and that guy is doing. Why don't you listen to the guy, see if it makes sense, and if it does make sense, how can I apply it to myself?
Yeah.
Okay, get that knowledge. Don't be ignorance is such I think that ignorance will get you injured. That's what gets you injured.
See, a lot of trainers, they think they know it all already. They get one certification on the weekend. They go get their jobs and then they stop their education. But education is a lifelong process. You never stop learning. Once you do, you're like intellectually dead, right?
Yeah, yeah. So basically, knowledge is the key, and you need to learn and do a certification here and a certification there. I'm not saying become all trainers and professionals and the best in biomobility and stuff like that. I'm just saying, like, take a stretching class. Okay, if you see a seminar in posturology, why don't you go and take it and see?
Check it out.
Yeah, go check it out. See what he's saying. How can I apply it to myself?
Yeah.
You'd be surprised how many people do certifications
Yeah.
on a basis that, oh, are you a trainer? No, I'm not a trainer. I just want to help myself.
Yeah.
I just want to be better.
Yeah.
So basically, that's my best piece of advice, because I can't say do this or do that, because I haven't seen you guys. I don't know what your posture looks like. I don't know.
You can't individualize.
No.
But you can't give it's hard to do that.
We're all unique.
We're all unique.
We're unique individuals with different needs.
Yep.
Right? And surprisingly enough, a lot of people don't see it this way.
Yep.
You know, you're unique, and nobody can tell you that what's good for you. Nobody, really. Okay? You need to do the classes, take stretching, take posture, take yoga, I don't care, and see how you can apply it, what makes me feel good, and what really helps.
What works.
What works, basically.
Yeah.
And it's different for everybody.
For everybody. Yeah.
Okay? Because I got to admit, 45 minutes to prepare for a workout, that's one hell of an ordeal. And the more I learn sometimes, and the more depressed I get. Because the more I know nothing, the more you realize you know nothing. Because you get deeper and deeper in the rabbit hole, and that hole is very, very deep. And it gets more and more complicated. You get into doctorate stuff and stuff like that, right?
It's, as they say, an inch wide but a mile deep.
Oh, yeah.
Then,
I like that. That's well said, actually. Yeah. For me, basically your body is a big rabbit hole, and the deeper you go in, the better your workouts are going to be. You need to go online, go on YouTube, see what people have. People have videos, and just read up on stuff.
Yeah.
And be open-minded. Why are people so close-minded? Seriously. And I'm not talking about trainers. I'm talking about any professional. You go see a doctor. Do you know how many people go see doctors, right? And they've been doing acupuncture or this or that. And the doctor goes, well, you got nothing. And to be honest with you, I find this is bullshit.
Yeah.
Well, that's ignorance. He should be looking at other practices. Maybe refer out.
Sometimes he'll say, hey, you're okay, but you already know that there's something wrong with you. That's why you went to see him. But he'll say, you're fine. And it's like, okay.
Yeah, here, take these pharmaceuticals. I guarantee you'll feel much better. Yeah, codeine's great, especially when you're sick,
Yeah, you come back for more.
Yeah, codeine popsicles. Those are great. Just kidding, by the way.
So that's the takeaway home message, I find, find what works for you. Go Go to different places and apply it to yourself. See if it works for you, because everyone's individual. You know, fantastic.
Yeah.
So some questions for you personally.
Yeah.
Just a few that I'd like to get. You know, what book would you recommend for our viewers? If you had one book to recommend, either on training or stretching, what would be that book? Would you say everyone needs to read? Or you could say, this is my favorite book.
Wow.
Which one would you say?
You're talking to a guy that basically
Reads a lot.
reads a lot. I grab a book, I take a plane ride. I take a book, I take a plane ride.
Nice.
That's what I do.
Yeah.
You know, there's many books that I like. I do like Facilitated Stretching by Robert McAfee. I do believe that it's got a great amount of knowledge. Everybody should have that. I like Anatomy Trains by Thomas Myers.
Nice.
Although it's a little bit more complicated, it's a harder read,
Yeah.
but super fun. Okay, and those are for basically mobility purposes and stuff like that. And I do also love any book by Tudor Bompa, which is an author. He's a Romanian strength coach.
Cool.
He has a lot of cool knowledge on serious strength training. He's got a lot of basically different knowledge on training, how the body adapts to certain types of training.
And those are translated into English?
Yeah, I think
copies?
but like a lot of people out there, maybe you might look at my suggestions right now and say, whoa, that's old stuff, a little bit. But I like to believe that, you know, sometimes you got to go back a little bit to see what was created first, to see where people today got their book.
Sure.
Because remember, everybody that writes a book has to have studied these books from someone else and got to there. So you got to go back to the source.
Yeah. There's nothing new under the sun.
No, not really. We don't reinvent the wheel. We just make it better. It's good to synthesize. You understand what I mean?
Yeah.
I love I love to synthesize.
Yeah.
How can you cross-reference stuff?
Absorb and mesh and put something else out, type of thing.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah, fantastic. If you would have to go back, let's say 10 years ago, what type of advice would you give your future self?
Oh, my future self. Wow. Well, one thing's for sure, I wouldn't...
Or yourself right now?
Well, I wouldn't do mechanical engineer.
Okay.
I would have been going back to kinesiology.
Okay.
The study of movement.
Yeah.
I would have went back to kinesiology, and at least not to take it as a hard copy, but as a basis of what you need to know, and then grow from that point on. I would have redone my whole... Like, I wouldn't have been at 40 years old right now. I'm going to be 41. And I wouldn't have said, well, okay, well, I spent all my life up to almost 30 years old in mechanical engineering university. And then I said, well, let's be a trainer. Start from scratch. You know, I would have went back to kinesiology, learn something, and then grow from that point on. And maybe avoid a lot of injuries. And maybe I would have been...
For yourself or your clients?
For myself. And to be honest, I was a little bit narrow-minded when I was younger, and I really didn't give much thought to stretching. I really didn't care. It was all about performance. So basically, maybe change a little bit my wisdom towards mobility, stretching. I would have gone back with this type of knowledge. I would have went back to when I was powerlifting. I would have been a much better powerlifter.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Great. And on the side, you also have another passion, which is martial art.
Yeah, I do.
Which one do you practice?
I like to work in. Now, this is actually a fun thing. A lot of people ask me, where did I get the stretching samurai? Okay, well, the stretching part, you know, that's Bob McAtee. I put that there because it's my mentor, and I idolize this guy. So I said, I'm going to put stretching in it. Okay, and the second part is samurai. I was last few years, I've been through some really hard times. I've lost most of my family. Most of my family died. In fact, 2 years ago, I lost my grandfather, my grandmother, and my father in the same week. So
sorry to hear that.
So no, it's okay. You know, it's part of life. A samurai knows that. I don't consider myself a samurai, but I like to believe that I'm going through that mentality. He believes that life and death are together, and you need to embrace death in order to appreciate life.
Absolutely.
In fact, a samurai used to take a bath every night and think of how many ways he could die. Because when he saw 100 deaths, he could come back the next day and be alive and go, oh my God, is this life so fantastic?
Yeah.
You understand?
Yeah.
So that's what I've learned 2 years ago.
Appreciation.
To appreciate a little bit more these times where, like, I get to know you, I get to do this nice little video today. That's a blessing. I get to do what I love in my life. That's a blessing. I got a great family, my girlfriend, my dogs. I still have a mom and a brother, and some of my family, my uncle. So I still have someone on my other side alive, and that's something to go for. So that brought me to Iaido, which is basically the art of samurai, basically using a sword.
Amazing.
So for the last 3 years, I've been studying sutras, samurai mentality, and practicing basically using a sword repetitively, and bring it back almost blindfoldly.
Kind of like the way I use a kettlebell.
Pretty much. and remember, guys, it's called martial art. There's a reason why it's called martial art. Because it's an art form that progressively you learn about all your life.
All your life.
And that's why it's a martial art.
Yeah.
It's patience. You go from darkness to the light, and you learn a craft so well that it basically lights up your life.
This single tool or object can be learned in a lifetime.
Yeah,
practice.
Totally. Painting,
Practice.
Kettlebell training, anything you do.
Which is a skill.
It's a skill, it's an art form. And for samurai, you need to get better and better
Every day.
every day.
With every single rep, every single set.
That's it.
It's a mindset approach that you're going to be so mindful during your practice. You know, the setup is the first rep.
Yeah,
And when you put away your sword or set down your kettlebell, that's the last rep type of thing.
Yeah.
And in between is what counts. Everything else also, this start and beginning, everything together comes in one.
And there's something interesting about that question. There's something called active meditation. And when I pull out a sword and I focus, they say that Iaido is the art of 100,001 moves. Okay? So as you pull out your sword, there's a way of pulling it out. There's a way of tilting the sword. There's a way, a degree.
Yes.
There's a way. Everything has to be thought out. Yeah. Okay? And the more you think about what you do, you get into this meditative state. Yeah. It's the same thing when you do kettlebell swings.
It's an intricate detail, almost like tea ceremony or calligraphy, right?
Yeah.
It's an art form,
which
samurais used to practice.
But it brings you back to thinking yourself and to work in to work out. So Iaido for me is working in. Training and the rest is my workout. So my meditation, sometimes people have trouble meditating. And a lot of people say, how do you meditate? Well, if you're doing kettlebells with Luca, you're meditating. That's what you're doing.
You better be.
It's called active meditation. You're not going to think about what you're going to make for supper tonight. You're going to think how you're going to throw that kettlebell. What am I doing? What am I supposed to be feeling? And you're going to be zoned out. And that's active meditation.
Zoned in. Or in the zone.
In the zone.
You know what, zoned out, I'm thinking like somewhere else. Other than right here.
You have to be
here.
Right there.
Yeah.
That's the most important thing.
Absolutely. What an interesting topic. It could be another show on itself. But with that said, I really appreciate your time.
Well, I appreciate that he actually took his time, like we were talking together, and he said, you know what, I'm coming to you. And in Montreal, guys, if you know how many potholes. And
today's a really bad day to be traveling.
Yeah, it's really bad. And the fact that he actually took his time to come and see me, that means a lot to me. Because I got to admit, I always wanted to meet Luca. I've been following this guy for so long, and all of a sudden he's at my doorstep. He goes, hey, Pat, let's do something. And I went like, wow, this guy's pretty intense. I love this guy. This is awesome. So yeah, it's my pleasure to have you here in my studio today.
Thank you so much. And for those that are listening, guys, you can find Patrick at the Stretching Samurai on his YouTube channel.
Yeah.
Otherwise, look him up on Instagram at Stretching Samurai, pretty much.
Well, the on Facebook or you, what do you, on
Instagram?
Oh, it's always Stretching Samurai.
Stretching Samurai?
Yeah, I like to keep it
Simple?
Keep it
Same
simple.
thing for Facebook?
Yeah, well, sometimes I put my samurai name
Yeah.
on Facebook,
Yeah.
which is Nokachi Shirarufuta.